So now we want to take up the question here at our Bloomberg Boards and Risk Briefing, Under Attack, the new assault on American corporations. Behind Washington's closed doors, what will happen next? And the person who's going to address that is Clark Judge. He is managing director of the White House Writers Group. And as such, he provides strategic communications counsel to clients in industries ranging from financial services to transportation to high technology, so basically across the board. He's assisted some of the nation's most prominent businesses in developing public positions and communications strategies for responding to regulatory challenges, promoting legislation, marketing high-end professional services, and pursuing mergers and acquisitions. For political clients, he's written numerous nationally televised speeches, primarily during presidential campaigns. In the White House, Mr. Judge served as speechwriter and special assistant to both President Ronald Reagan and Vice President George Bush. After 2.5 years serving the vice president, he joined President Reagan's speechwriting staff in 1986 and remained with Mr. Reagan through the end of his term. A member of the Moscow Summit speechwriting team, he was also the lead writer for the Toronto Economic Summit in 1988 and helped shape the White House approach to the 1988 presidential campaign. So this is a man who not only knows how to look behind closed doors, but also how to speak about it eloquently. Let's bring out Clark Judge.
Well, I will be speaking today about some very controversial things, but I don't mean to be controversial. I mean to be factual, rational, and analytical. So bear with me. But as I start, I'd like to second what Eileen said about communication. If you take anything from what I say today, it is this, that in the new policy, board, financial environment, communication planning, communication thinking, communication strategy has taken on a whole new character. And we need to, and companies need to step up to this new kind of demand. Now, as you heard, I've been asked to address what's happening in Washington. We start with what we all know. Healthcare has passed. It was a massive battle. It has changed the character of the city, of the political discourse in the country. Both parties, it brought out in both parties a sense of determination and a clarity. It was actually quite an excellent debate, which is ongoing. Now, in politics, if you win a big battle, it has consequences, major benefits. And those benefits are beyond what you might expect, and they go longer than you expect. The Democrats and the administration believe they have won a major battle. But because of the split vote, and because of the public opposition, and also because, as Bloomberg reported this morning, the president's declining after a bump, the president's apparently declining popularity rating all through this and now apparently resumed. It isn't entirely clear that the victory was a clear-cut one. Nevertheless, I've been told that within the Washington regulatory community, long-time players in regulated industries have told me that the word on the street in Washington is that the administration and its regulators are feeling, as I was told by one old hand, longtime hand, particularly empowered by this victory. We are speaking today primarily about financial regulation, about the SEC, the Treasury also, and the Fed. But the regulatory story is across the board. And I just want to run down the list with you for a minute to give you a sense of how broad-based it is. Keep in mind the FCC, for example, where last fall, Chairman Julius Genachowski, I always have trouble with that name. Any name with more than 5 letters, which I guess is how long mine is, I have trouble with, launched a major push for what is called net neutrality. Now, net neutrality is another term for price controls and mandated service levels. At the EPA, Administrator Lisa Jackson has announced not only, I'm going to go through three things at the EPA that are in process now. We've all heard about CO2, their move to bring CO2 under the Clean Air Act provisions, allowing the EPA to sidestep Congress and impose climate change regulation administratively. But that isn't the only area. They have aggressive initiatives. For example, they've launched a campaign, probably the first of many, against a long held to be safe agricultural chemical essential for the production of corn in the Midwest. The campaign was announced in September. This was less than 2 years after the EPA had finished a 12-year review of the same agricultural chemical, and was done basically as a result of an accusation by an activist group. And in California, they've cut water from parts of the Central Valley, devastating some parts of farming, at least until a deal cut during the healthcare debate got the spigots back on. We're talking about expansive regulation here. This is an example at the EPA. And at Justice and the FTC, we've all heard about the increased aggressiveness on antitrust. So what you see in the Washington context, even before this last victory, was great and expansive aggressiveness in the regulatory sphere. It's been stepped up. The word on the street is it's stepping up as a result of the confidence instilled in the administration and its regulators by the healthcare victory. And this agenda does not stop with Congress, with agencies. It extends to Congress. For example, FTC expansion. A bill that is going through committee now and is likely to go to the floor this year is the Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Bill. It includes a massive extension of FTC authority entirely unrelated to the financial services industry. I'd like to read to you a critique from a letter signed by 30 trade associations covering virtually every industry in the country. This is how they put it. This bill, quoting now, would eliminate procedural safeguards that were imposed upon FTC rulemaking decades ago, after Congress determined that the Commission had repeatedly overstepped its regulatory authority. Continuing, taken together, these provisions grant such sweeping power that the FTC could essentially act as an unelected legislature governing industries and sectors across the economy. Now, this is one bill, but there are others.